So let's talk about this Pacers and Suns game. This Pacers and Suns game is hella interesting as what we saw through the game is honestly very surprising to see. First, I want to say they shout out to Pascal. He played well, but I think that the biggest thing about this game was mostly the passes and the way that the Indiana Pacers played with Pascal Siakam. In this game, they both, both teams, the Suns and the Pacers, were facing off against each other, and I noticed something very interesting about the Pacers. The reason why, what I noticed about the Pacers was that they had like this proficiency which Pascal I don't think has ever had before. The reason why I say that is because Pascal in this game, was able to do something which, even though he lost, I hadn't seen him do a lot of before. And I do think that this will be a point of emphasis in the future. Um, I do not think that he will continue this as soon as Halliburton comes back. But one thing that happened a lot in this game was the fact that Pascal, assisted a lot. He didn't have that great of a game. He was pretty effective, but the biggest thing that stopped the Pacers in this game was the fact that they couldn't make two pointers at all. TJ McConnell struggled a lot, very heavily with making two pointers. And when we saw them play, more importantly than not, we saw like a collective effort from Aaron Neesmith, TJ McConnell, Benedict Mathurin, and a bunch of other guys, which just their two pointers weren't falling. For the Suns, it was exactly the opposite. Because even though the Pacers had a 45% 3 point percentage, the Suns had a 57% field goal percentage with a 32% free throw percentage. They played completely opposite games as the Suns focused more on the from inside the 2 point line and focused more on getting their buckets in the mid range and in the paint, which makes sense as they have three of the best mid range shooters in the entire game on their squad. In Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, and Kevin Durant. But I do believe that with this game we saw like obviously first I want to say shout out to Kevin Durant. He dropped 40 points in this game, and he has been doing absolute wonders for Phoenix in terms of getting them back into playoff contention after they became fully healthy. Finally, coming away with some wins from the teams which he's faced because before Bradley Beal came back, before Devin Booker was actually onto something, they both had real problems, right, with winning due to the fact that the Suns had basically nobody in their roster. The biggest thing that I noticed about the Pacers without Halliburton was the fact that they just don't know how to run an offense. There's not another point guard, and the point guard that there is, it doesn't really play point guard in TJ McConnell, and I think that that is hurting them. In my opinion, this is probably a telltale sign that when you're not playing Halliburton, your minutes are going to seem much worse due to the fact that you do not have a ball handler, and the fact that Obi Toppin and now Pascal Siakam are the players who you mostly rely on, apart from maybe Miles Turner, really is a telling sign of the fact that the Indiana Pacers need some renovations. Now, first, I want to say that the Pacers have to define what their goals are. If they want to win this season, then you're not going to do it and stop trying. Let yourself finish the season, try to get Halliburton to be healthy, and try to trade for a point guard because a championship this season is completely out of the picture for the Pacers. And that's not a bad thing. I'm sorry, but it's true. In the NBA right now, in the league where you are, in the place where you sit, especially in your conference, you're not going to win. Like the Pacers cannot beat the Bucks, Celtics, Sixers, Heat all together in a 7 game series, right? They just can't. They could win maybe against one team. They could be hot, be on fire, and have that be an advantage for them. But I don't think that they could beat any of those teams in a longer format of um, game. Apart from this, what I did notice from this team, and especially from this Suns team, which won the game, by the way, they won by 7 points, was the fact that their other players are not doing much. Grayson Allen is obviously one of the best 3 point shooters in the game, and he has completely stood out as the player to be for the Suns. He's really become their saving grace in terms of offensive production from a role player. And I do believe that with him being this good and being able to put up production of this level, I think it's been amazing for the Suns being able to see that in that way. Apart from this, I do want to say that there is something to be said about being able to put yourself in these positions with your team to win, and especially having these players which are actually going to have you, in the right positions to win. Now, what I really want to say is that Pascal needs to now finally let himself go fully as he did before. Now, a lot of people are going to be wondering, what are you talking about? Like, Pascal is Pascal. He's going to play the way that he plays. But when we look at this game, and when we look especially at what it's been happening in Toronto, we know that Pascal has been holding himself back. The reason why is because Pascal is a system player. He likes playing in systems which benefit him, and he doesn't like going too crazy because he knows that it's detrimental to the team if he misses a lot of shots or if he's ineffective the way that he plays, if he plays too aggressively. So he's basically shied away from being that aggressive. He's passive, or he didn't even play that many minutes in this game. Like in the entire game he played 30 minutes, and I understand that there was a part which was a blowout. But if you look at the footage, he was not there for a few of the more important offensive possessions before Phoenix just absolutely turned on fire in the second and third quarter. So when we look at this game, I just have a few pointers for both teams. First, Phoenix need to keep this up. They are playing great. That 2 point game of theirs is amazing. And the 3 pointer for Phoenix will eventually fall if they just keep shooting it. They have great shooters. Second, Bradley Beal playing with two other guards surprisingly works well. And Devin Booker as the point guard, that works really nicely as it allows the game to open up, and especially Devin Booker that this season is averaging 27 points and 8 assists, and that in this game he had 26 points and 8 assists. He will be the player which will make the biggest difference for you guys. And finally, the Suns need to keep playing defense, need to make sure to have that in mind, because offense might win games, but it does not win championships. Then for the Pacers, I would say unleash Pascal. Give him the keys. While Halliburton's not there, the smartest thing that you could do is just allow Pascal to be himself, to be aggressive, to go as much as he can. And the reason why I say that is because Pascal is timider now. He doesn't have to carry his team. As soon as Halliburton comes back, that team is back for Halliburton, back to what it was before. So in my opinion, what should happen is that they should try to unleash Pascal in the best way to make him the most effective player that he can be. Apart from all of this, I do want to say that shout out to Yusuf Nurkic. He played a great game, just extremely effective. And even though he did foul out, it was a really, effective performance. I want to say shout out to Eric Gordon, because even if he did not play well this game, I do want to say that he's had to bear a lot of changes in his role. And even if he plays a lot of minutes, he's had to, withstand a constant change in the way that he has to play each week. And I do believe that that's not easy, as sometimes he'll be the best player on his team, sometimes he'll be the worst player, and sometimes he'll be a starter, sometimes he'll be a bench player, and whatever. So yeah, I hope both of these teams keep it up, and it was a great game.